Hey guys, Jason here. In today's video, I'm gonna give you a complete beginner's guide to recording a guitar track using plugins. Now, before we get into recording the actual guitar track, and again, I'm going to show you guys step by step how to record a guitar track using plugins, from opening the studio, all that good stuff. I want to first cover the 5 things that you need to be able to record a guitar track using plugins. Now, every now and then you'll see me look down at this little piece of paper here. I had to write this stuff down because I don't want to miss anything. Crap, now where were we? Oh, yeah, the 5 things you need. Now, the first thing you need, and you probably already have this, is a computer. And I'd venture to say that chances are whatever computer you have is gonna be fine to run your studio software on. Now, I personally use an iMac. And guys, I'm not gonna get too much into the specs because I'm kind of dumb when it comes to all that stuff. What I did about 5 years ago is I just went to the Apple store and I kind of wanted an iMac already, but I told the dude, I'm like, hey, this is what I do. I'm a musician and recording artist, blah, blah, blah. This is the type of software I'm running, studio recording. Those guys are pretty familiar with this stuff anyway. So he just directed me to a specific iMac, and that's what I got. And that's really what I recommend for you to do. Now, I'm not going to get into the PC versus Apple war. I could really care less. I just decided to go Mac because of some reviews and some research I did on my own. So you can also get PCs that will run your studio software just fine. Now, if you don't want to go the expensive route, you can just get a cheap laptop. In fact, I recorded my very first album on this Toshiba laptop. I can't believe I still have this thing. I'm not really sure if it turns on anymore, but that was only 4 gigs of RAM. I don't remember all the other specs, but I recorded music just fine on that laptop. Number 2, you do need studio software. You need some kind of recording software. And again, I think most of you probably already have this, but if you're an extreme newbie, just do some research. I personally use PreSonus Studio One Pro. I've been using that since like day one. Actually, I did purchase the studio software called Reaper when I first started recording. I use that for a little bit, and that's just fine for starting out, and I think it's actually one of the less expensive studio software recording applications out there. So if you're just starting out and you're on a budget, then definitely look up Reaper, just Google it or whatever, and you can start there. But again, I've become an avid fan of PreSonus Studio One, and that's because I really haven't used anything else except for the Reaper. But I have never had any issues, and the workflow is really simple on that. Number 3, you need an interface, and this is that thing that a lot of people starting out forget about. It's like, okay, I have my guitar, which I think that's going to be number 4. We'll quickly go over that. I have my guitar, I have my computer, and I bought a plugin or whatever, but I don't know how to actually record it. And again, if you're brand new at this, it is kind of confusing. And if you're an older dude like me, where we were used to just plugging into an actual hard piece of hardware and recording our tracks that way. I think I had an old Fostex DMT8 or something like that. I probably screwed that acronym up. But yeah, it was like a completely different world. But you do need an interface. Now, I started out with this little PreSonus audio box here. And it's just a 2-channel interface. I think it was like 99 bucks. The cool thing about this interface is it came with a copy of the Studio One software. Now it was like a lighter version, so I had to upgrade in order to use third-party plugins. Every software is different, so just do your research. But you can use this interface with any recording software. So don't get all hung up. It's like, well, if I buy PreSonus Audio Box, I have to use their software too. That's not necessarily true. Like if you want to use Reaper, in fact, I use this interface with Reaper. Now, since I have upgraded to the PreSonus Quantum 2, and it just has far less latency and that sort of thing. But if you're just starting out, just get like a $100 interface. That's really all you need. You're gonna get like phenomenal quality out of that. And again, don't get hung up on, well, I bought PreSonus Audio Box, or I bought Focusrite, or whatever the interface. There's several you can choose from. Doesn't necessarily have to be used with their version of the software if you don't want to go that route. You can just choose whatever software you want and whatever interface you want. They're all kind of interchangeable. Oh, and the interface, this is another part I got hung up on. It does connect to your computer, so I didn't really explain this, but the interface is how you get the guitar signal, from your guitar to the computer and into the software and all that good stuff, which we'll get into that. I'll show you step by step everything how to record the guitars using plugins. Now number 4, and this is pretty obvious, you do need a guitar. There's my guitar, my trusted LTD M1000 Deluxe. I love this guitar. I have several more guitars. And number 5, kind of obvious too, you do need a cable, just a 1/4-inch cable. Now you'll connect, of course, connect your cable to your guitar, but the other end of that cable will go straight into your interface just like this. Oh guys, and I forgot one thing. You do need some sort of output source, something to listen to the feedback. Now you can use your computer speakers. I really don't recommend that you do that though. You can get some monitors, and those monitors connect to your studio just like this. You can see, they're connected into the interface, and then you connect the other end to the actual monitor like you're seeing here. If you don't want to spend money on monitors, because those can be kind of pricey, you can always get headphones. But make sure they're good quality headphones. You can usually pick up a decent pair for about $100. All right guys, so we covered the preliminary steps here. Now I assume you've already got your guitar plugged into your interface is plugged into your computer, and you're all set. You've already downloaded your studio software, so that will kind of vary depending on who you go with, but usually you just pay for the software. You click a button, it downloads, there it is on your computer. What I suggest is like moving that icon to your desktop so it's easy to access, or if you're on an Apple like me, I can kind of use it, put it down here at the bottom so it's just easily accessible. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna click the button to bring up my studio software, and sometimes this takes a little while just because the software is a pretty big package and I've got a lot of songs loaded. All right guys, so we've got the software open. Now again, I'm using PreSonus Studio One Pro. What we want to do now is just find where it says new song in whatever recording software you're using, and just click on that. You want to open up a brand new song. All right, so now you want to add a track. We're ready to record, but we need our track to record with. It's like, what are we recording here and what track are we using? So add your first track, find it in your studio. It should say add track or something like that. Now some recording software packages give you like these fancy options, different types of tracks you can add. Look, I'm like Leonard Skinner, I'm a simple man, so I just add like a normal mono track. Now with plugins, kind of like the software, you went somewhere to buy that on the internet and you downloaded that after you purchased, so boom, it's there on your computer. Most plugins, most VSTs, guitar amp simulators and effects and yada yada, most of those work the same way. You're gonna do the purchase, then they'll send you an email to click, or you might download it right there on their website if they give you some kind of code or whatever. But either way, you're gonna click a button somewhere and you're gonna download that software onto your computer. Now, here's the thing I didn't cover, and I probably should have done this before we opened up our software. If you have not purchased your plugin yet, make sure your software is closed, and this is just something I learned a long time ago. Make sure your software is closed first, download the plugin, make sure it's installed on your computer, then bring up your software. And what that does, it will allow your software to capture that plugin, so it's gonna be there. Now let's move the plugin over to the track that we just created. Now in Studio One, I've got this cool little bar, not like a bar where you go drinking. You guys know what I'm talking about. I am gonna have a beer later though. On the right side here in my studio, I've got this little bar here, and you can see all my plugins right here. Just for simplicity's sake, I'm just gonna close my eyes and pick one. Looks like we're pulling over the Fortin Nameless suite here, which is a very cool amp simulator. All right guys, so now our plugin is here. You guys can see it. Most of the time when you move that plugin into a track where there's drag or drop, or if you have to, click some other button to move it there, it's gonna come up and you're gonna see the amp interface like you see here. And now what you wanna do is you wanna press the record button. You're not actually gonna record the track yet, but you wanna press the little record button like you see here on the actual track. And what that's going to allow you to do is just hear your guitar. So, you're in your studio, you've got your plug-in, your amp sim moved over to the track, press the little record button there and just start jamming. And here's where you can mess around with your tones. If you want to change the EQ or change the amp or whatever the plug-in allows you to do, you can do it. Now guys, before we record the actual guitar track, here's something that I always do. I always set my BPM, and you see down here, you see the little BPM part down here. I always set that to kind of what I think the song's gonna be. You can change it at any time, and then make sure the little click track is on, so when you press the button, you'll go click, 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 click. And that's just going to help you keep your timing on that initial guitar track. Now, if you don't want to use a click track, and I'm not really going to get into this, you can use a drum track instead. What I'll do a lot of times is I'll pull my virtual instrument, whatever I have, and some studio programs have loops in them or some sort of drum beats or whatever. You could use that too. But what I'll do is I'll just create another track, and I'll just add like, 4 or 5 minutes worth of just a simple drum pattern so that I've got that to play along to and keep my timing with instead of the click track. But it's up to you. You may do fine with the click track as well, and that's okay. All right, guys, so now we're ready to record our first guitar track using plugins. So really at this point, your record button's already on. You can hear your sound. All you need to do is just press the main record button in your studio. And once you press that, you can start jamming away. So let's hear how this sounds. Oh, and there's one thing I forgot to mention. Make sure your signal is not clipping. This is a problem that you can run into from time to time. So basically, you want to make sure your levels aren't in the red when you're playing, like this. Most of the time, you can just turn the volume down on your interface and just make sure that input signal's not in the red. And you may also have to play around with the track volume instead. The actual volume in the plugin itself, it should already be set, in a spot where it's not going to impact you. So mess around with those volumes, especially on your interface first, and then make sure your track volume is low enough so that it's not clipping as well. So a question for you, have you recorded your first guitar track using plugins yet? Let me know in the comments below. And guys, if you have any questions about this tutorial, like I said, I wanted to make this just really a complete, from start to finish guide on how to record guitar tracks with plugins. This is a frustration I had in the beginning. Man, it was like so frustrating to me. I almost gave up on this stuff and went back to, the old school machines, which I'm glad I didn't, because there is so much value and so many benefits to recording with software, and there's a lot of benefits to recording with plugins. Like, if you don't like the tone at the end of the day, you can switch amps within your plugin, or you can take that plugin out. You've still got your dry signal that you recorded, and you can add another amp simulator, another plugin in there if you want. So you've just got this whole world of options when using plugins. And guys, again, feel free to ask me any questions, guys. I always answer you back. And I know if you're brand new at this, it can be a learning curve. So let me know if you have questions, if there's something I missed or didn't cover, and I'll be happy to help you guys out. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, as always, keep it metal.